Now today in our video, we're going to talk about simplifying your finances in just one afternoon. No, I'm not talking give it a complete overhaul in one afternoon, but just some simple steps to be able to help move you forward. Sounds like all you're interested in? Let's get into the video. Welcome to day 4 of the challenge. Woohoo! You made it this far. We are nearing the end of the week, so I thought let's take a nice relaxed approach and cover something that's maybe overwhelming you and might be bothering you, but let's just take a couple of steps forward to be able to simplify the whole process. Over the last couple of days, we've covered decluttering, we've covered morning routines, we've also covered the systems that you might need. Definitely go ahead and check out the playlist below on my channel where you can go ahead and watch all the previous videos, and so you can follow along with us. Now don't be shy, let me know in the comments whether this has helped you, whether you enjoyed it, whether you've hated it, whether these are things that you knew, or whether you've got anything additional that you'd like to add. Honestly, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to share with you 4 lessons I've learned over the course of the last 11 months around managing my finances and simplifying my finances as a family, in addition to 3 actionable steps, the CTE method, that will help you just really provide you with some actionable tips to be able to go ahead and simplify your life and implement them straight away. Stop the video and be able to do it straight away. There's no holding back. So let's just set the stage and set the tone. Finances can feel like a really overwhelming and daunting task. Now, I know for myself, when I was in that phase of feeling completely overwhelmed and like, what am I doing? When's that next bill got to be paid? It felt like bills were coming, like literally flying at me and my husband all the time. I was like, I don't know when that's due, or it would always end up being a surprise. And I didn't want to feel like that. You can definitely go ahead and check out the video I did earlier on this year where I talked about that being one of my goals, just to help simplify things or just get that better clarity on our family finances. Now, I'm a huge fan of podcasts. I absolutely love them. I listen to heaps and heaps and heaps. I did find that listening to Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich podcast was a great introduction into the beginning of this year and kind of getting clarity on my finances. I think his book is fantastic, and I'll link up to it here. So this is the book itself, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and he also has a supporting podcast. I think the name has now changed and it's now called Money for Couples or something like that. But basically he goes through and he discusses on the podcast with couples about their finances, how they're spending and what they're spending on, whether they're spending too much money, not whether they're spending too much money, but having that objective view of someone taking a look at their finances. And he gives them some coaching around that it's just such fascinating conversations that he has with his guests. And I listened to it whilst I'm on my way to work and I'm like, I hadn't thought about it like that. So many valuable insights. But anyway, there's 2 audiobooks that I listened to this past year, and one of them is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi, and the other one is Scott Pape's The Barefoot Investor. So if you're living in Australia, that probably is more applicable to us living here, whereas I feel that Ramit's book is very US based and some of the things don't necessarily apply. But you can still take the principles. I definitely took some principles from his book and applied them to what I'm doing, like automating your finances and automating bills, automating your savings. They both talk about that a lot, like automating your savings and not kind of relying on like hope and waiting until the end of the month or whatever, like, oh yes, I will put that in there later, when actually you know that you're not going to do it. So it's just things like that. I really did valuable lessons that I took away from both of those books. I highly recommend that you go ahead and read those books. I'll leave the link to those books specifically in the description below. So I want to jump into the key lessons that I've learned that have really helped simplify my life over the last, where are we up to now? 11 months. Really key, that have been instrumental. And these haven't been big things. They haven't involved me buying anything new or a subscription or an app or anything like that. They've been really simple. So I want you to follow along. The first one is using your personal calendar as almost as your family tracking. Whether your family calendar, what do they call those things? Ring binder. Oh my goodness. A ring binder or a folder, whatever you have a hard journal, notebook, whatever it is, or you use your digital calendar. I use my digital calendar, Google Calendar, and I put everything in there, from when the kids need to be not necessarily picked up, but whether they have a sports event, whether there's rehearsal for dance, like it's coming up at the moment, all the bills that happen and when they occur and when they reoccur, so that they pop up inside of the calendar. Use your calendar as a way to track things. I think it can be so easy for us to kind of think, oh yeah, I'll just put it in there, or I'll remember. I'll remember. When you know that you're not going to remember. Like, it falls in and it goes out. That is the process. In, out. And it doesn't stay. You just can't retain it. So do yourself a favor, write it down, put it down somewhere so you can track those things. This is also so that you can avoid those surprises, like surprise bill, right? Or, you know, your insurance, renters or house insurance or whatever is due like every year, but somehow you seem to miss the dates and you don't manage to save up enough money throughout the year to be able to pay that. And then it becomes like a surprise bill and you're like, great, what am I going to do now? You know, so put those things inside of your calendar. Birthdays, things that are going to crop up, bills that need to be paid quarterly, either subscriptions, add those all in there so that you are not surprised. The second lesson that I've learned that was really key is to either consolidate your bank accounts or to close the old bank accounts. Now, I think it was probably 3 or 4 bank accounts that I know needed closing. And they were taking up mental space and mental bandwidth. I just never got around to them. I made it really intentional that I was going to do that. And like the issue was for one of them is that I had to go to the bank to close it. I was like, so this isn't the like, I don't know, 90s or something. I don't know. Why do I have to go in the bank to close the bank account? I don't need it anymore. I just want to close it. Anyway, it was a big ordeal because I tried to do it before and then I couldn't do it. Like, you got to go into the bank. So that was the issue. So I just made an intentional effort that I was going to give myself a month. I was going to make sure that I closed all of those accounts. The other ones I was able to close online. The other I had to go into the bank to do so. And the reason that I say either consolidate your bank accounts or not consolidate them, you don't have to have them all in location. And I'm not, by the way, a financial guru or anything like that. But this is just my own personal journey that I went on. The reason that I say that is just the mental space and bandwidth that takes up in your mind is actually so much bigger than you actually think, because you always know you might drive past and be like, oh yeah, I've got to go ahead and call that bank to close that bank account. Oh yes, I've got to go to, like, you walk past it whilst you're in the street and realize, oh yeah, I've got it. And that's just extra mental space that you don't need. So if those are things that you can do, whether it's closing a bank account or taking care of handling a family member or parent's bank account or whatever it is that you needed to do, or whatever it is, give yourself like a month or so just to do that. And I did that over a course of a month and I closed all of that and I was like, cross that off the list. And it was just one thing that was done. And I have to say, it really did help just let me have a deep breath, be like, oh, I don't know why I put that off for so long. Like, what? We always do that, right? Why did I put that off for the longest time? Now, the third lesson that I learned from this, and something that I took away from the 2 books that I was reading, The Barefoot Investor and I Will Teach You to Be Rich, is that they said, track your expenses and how much you're spending. And I was like, I don't know how much our household bill expenses are. Like, I had an idea, but I didn't know the exact number. And the issue was coming back to when bills were due. I just didn't know when they were due because they would fluctuate. If you have subscriptions, sometimes you might not get billed every month. You might get billed every 2 months, or, you know, some bills come in quarterly, others are, you know, once a month. And I was like, this is hard. This is really hard. As much as that was something that was advised inside of the books, not that I didn't take it seriously, I just didn't overcomplicate the situation. I was like, you know what? Every time I receive a bill or payment that's due, I'm just going to note it down inside of my calendar. And then I'm going to know that that's every month. And over the course of a month, 2 months, over 3 months, I'd managed to capture almost all of the bills that we have and payments that are required. And this goes outside of like school fees and extracurricular activities and all of that stuff. I'm just talking about a basic living bill expenditure. Bill expenditure, isn't that crazy? Just tracking that and having those inside of my calendar. And what that allowed me to do is to actually get a full like picture view / landscape. I'm like, oh, right. So I had a good baseline to understand, okay, this is how much we spend each month, or this is how much we spend each quarter, and this is what it looks like. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed and in a similar situation like I was feeling, then definitely go ahead and start that process. You can go ahead and sit down and start writing it out. But the issue is that you have to then go into your email or go rifle around in your house to find that bill, to go and write it down. And then you get distracted and then there's a notification on your phone, ting, someone's posted on Instagram, like, you know the struggle, or you know that you've got to go and pick one of the kids up or got to go grocery shopping, whatever it is. But if you just release yourself from having to worry about that, and just as they come in, put them down in your physical or digital calendar and put that recurrence as when the next one's going to show up, and slowly over a quarter you'll be able to start building out when those payments are due and how they'll be flowing in and out of your bank account. So I want to give you an easy way for you to remember these actionable steps, and I've covered some of them already inside earlier on in this video. And I want you to think of CTE. So CTE stands for close, track, and expenses. This is your first actionable tip. Go ahead and close those inactive bank accounts. If you don't have any inactive bank accounts, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and maybe organize the ones that you do have, or maybe you've got some that are open, but it's got like 20 cents inside and you actually don't use it. Like, you don't need to keep it open. There's actually no need for it. If you want to, go ahead and close those accounts if you're not using them. I don't want to tell you to close accounts and you're actually using them, but close those accounts. If you're not using them and you feel that you won't be using them at all, then close them. There's no need to have them open. And as I said before, we want to track your bills. So to start tracking your bills, and you may already have that. If you already do this, please let me know in the comments below. Like, what do you do? I would love to know. Listen, I'm no financial expert here. I'm just sharing with you what has worked for me and what might work for someone else, because I was in that complete state of overwhelm. But go ahead and start tracking your bills, whether that's in your physical calendar or whether it's in your digital calendar. Don't overthink it. Just as the bills come in, add them to your planner or your digital calendar, so that you've got them there, so you can know when they're going to be showing up over the course of the next year, so that you are ready. You're ready. You're like, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight and pay those bills, right? So let's start adding those into your calendar. So now that you started adding those to your calendar, you've now got the E for expenses. We want to start calculating what your monthly expenses are. Now, if you were like me and had things that some months would be less, other months would be more, other quarters would be more, other times in the year, then just add it all up. Add up everything that you've got. I think this is the right way to do it. Now, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I added everything up and then I divided it by 12. So what I want you to do is you've got if you have monthly bills, then you've got that monthly amount, and you add all of those monthly payments up, and then you divide that, and that will give you one monthly number. There's probably an easier way to do this one, but my math isn't always great, but this is what I did. And then I took all of those other bills that were also quarterly, added those all up, and then I divided them by 12, and that gave me a monthly figure as well, in addition to the other ones that were, either every other month that I would pay for those, and then I also divided those by 12. And that gave me a monthly amount, and so I knew as a family our monthly household expenses were, and it made things feel so much easier. And I still don't think I've captured them all. I do think every now and again there's one extra one that crops up. But the thing to remember is that you're not trying to overcomplicate things, and you're not being hard on yourself. I think it's just progress, and I've got this from Ramit Sethi's book as well, is that it's just that you're not striving for perfection here and having the spreadsheets, and I'm not here for the spreadsheets. I'm not. It's just making that progress and actually knowing that, being intentional about what you're doing and moving closer to where you want to, the goals that you want to reach or what you want for your family. Honestly, it does help to simplify things so much more, and I wish more people would talk about it. I know that there's people who have budgeting envelopes and all of that stuff, and there's so many different paths that you can take, but sometimes it really is about just doing these small actions, CTE, just to help you move forward, closing all those old bank accounts, tracking your bills as well, and then calculating your monthly expenses. Like, that's what we need, and not sitting down to track those monthly expenses and feeling like you're not doing a good job, or you haven't done it enough, or you've been procrastinating on it because you know how long it will potentially take. Don't worry about it. Just track them as they come in, is what I'm trying to say. So this might feel very overwhelming, and I really hope that it doesn't. Like, I really do wish that there was someone out there who had given me this kind of advice, but I think in the headspace that I was in at the time, feeling just not myself, incredibly tired, just like feeling like the worst person ever. All I had space for was to do these small, tiny actions. I didn't have the brain capacity to sit and write down all of our family expenses with my husband. Like I just didn't have space for it. I just couldn't take it on. But I could do simple things as they came through via email. I could see that, oh, my phone bill is going to be due at the end of next week, and I can put that inside of my calendar. It's going to take me 10 seconds, and that was it. And it was done. It was so much easier, so much easier. So tomorrow we'll be nearing the end of our challenge and the end of our Simplify Your Life 5-day challenge. And in that video, we're going to be covering just taking care of you. Taking care of you. And it's a perfect way to be able to end the challenge and to also to round out simplifying your life. So if you are interested in that, make sure you go ahead and check out that video just here once it's ready, and I'll post it up once it's live. Until next time, gorgeous, keep fighting for simplicity, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.